It's Tuesday, June 23rd, 2020, and you have tuned in to the live stream. Now, regulars who tune in at this time are used to seeing the big boss man himself, Ezra Levant, sitting in this chair, but Ezra is busy with that super special project I've always been talking about. Oh, Mr. Producer just announced to me that the project was announced yesterday, which is a new book by our boss. Thanks for keeping me in the loop, guys. So the cat is out of the bag, and this is, I think, one of Ezra's best books ever. And I say that as someone who has yet to read the book. That's how confident I am. But there you go, The China Virus by Ezra Levant, how Justin Trudeau's pro-communist ideology is putting Canadians in danger. And indeed, I need not remind people, you know that 5 years ago, Justin Trudeau himself, 6 years ago actually, proclaimed China is the basic kind of dictatorship that he admires. So hoisted on his own petard given the events of 2020. Now, before I ramble on, my lovely co-host Sheila Gunn-Reid is here to help me steer this live stream. And first of all, how are you, Sheila? And at this point, you also explain what it is we're actually hoping to attain here.
Well, I'm well, David. Thank you for asking. I always feel like I'm doing better than I deserve. Justin, Mr. Producer, I don't know if it's a technical issue on your side or if I'm just supposed to fly blind today, which I'm fine with, but I cannot see anything on the Skype feed out of the corner of my eye. So that I'm fine without it. I'll figure it out. But if you could fix that, that would be wonderful. But yes, what we're doing here today, this is an opportunity for my friend David and I to interact with each other and talk about the day's news and what happened over the weekend, which is fun because David's one of my favorite people on the entire face of the earth. It also gives our viewers a chance to interact with each other in the live chat. There's always a lively little chat happening, friendships forming, business deals unfolding, but it also gives you a chance to support the work that we do here at Rebel News by throwing a little bit of money into what's called a super chat. Now, YouTube will take some, it's their platform, but we get the majority of the money, and it allows you to pose a question to us or make a comment or maybe suggest a topic that you'd like for us to talk about. And if you throw some money in the kitty there, it'll highlight the question or comment to the top of the page, and David and I will read it. Usually it's me. It's just a great way for you to support the work that we do here, completely of your own free will, which is not how it works with the CBC. No,
good point, Sheila. It's voluntary, your contributions to us, folks. You know, the mainstream media, it's beyond them to ask for money. They just take it directly out of your paycheck every 2 weeks.
They look down their smug noses at us too. They're like, hey, if you like the work that we do and if you want to, hey, if you're kind of feeling like supporting us, you can go ahead and do that. And they'll say, look at Rebel, they're panhandling again. At least we're panhandling.
That's right.
At least we're asking. At least we're suggesting, like, hey, if you want to do it, you can do it. But them, no. They just want to take tax dollars from regular people struggling to get by, many of whom are struggling with unemployment right now. They want that money. They think that they deserve it more than you do. And if you're not going to buy their failing product, they're going to force you to pay for it anyways through your tax dollars. It's really something else. But yeah, they always have that like hoity-toity, oh, we would never crowdfund. That's gross. We would never crowdfund. No, you just use the strong arm of the government to take the money from the people. Nice work.
Yeah. You know, it's amazing, Sheila, because I remember going back to 1994, I didn't think anything could outdo Rogers, the cable guy, doing the negative option billing. And some people might remember that. Some people might not. Some people might have no clue. Negative option billing, what's that? Basically, there was a whole slew of specialty channels that Rogers added to your broadcast. Oh, that's nice of them. Well, not so much, because they were charging you for every channel. And the deal was you had to phone them and, of course, be placed on hold to the sound of classical music and the occasional "your call is very important to us" in order to cancel that. But at least when you got through to them and screamed at them that you don't want, I don't know, the W channel or whatever it was back then, they would remove it. But now we've gone into a scenario, Sheila, where we're losing money. We need money. We'll take your money. Thanks, sucker. And so it is. So and that's one thing too, Sheila. I mean, only in an alternate universe would the government come to us and offer us money, but we, as a matter of principle, would turn it down. Otherwise, we'd be such blatant hypocrites. But enough about that. How was your weekend, Sheila? It was really boring for me.
You know, I was saying off air to you, your poor wife, because as your friend watching what happened to you, yeah, I was furious. And so, like, I know enough about little Lady Menzies that she would probably want to tie those people in a knot. She's little, but she seems mighty and scrappy. And so I feel like she was probably really disturbed and mad by what she saw. I just want to get through a couple of super chats. Okay. And then we'll go right into what happened to you, because the super chats are already rolling in, which is fantastic.
Excellent.
Holy, yes, there's quite a few here. We've got one from Gabriel Mainville, gives us $5 Canadian. David, you don't deserve to be assaulted, and to me, you remain the best journalist. I'm not going to take that personally. I will second that motion. Oh, that's David, so nice. We talked about it in the. We have these daily morning meetings at work. And I think it's to make sure that we're all feeling connected, because some of us work remotely, especially during the virus. For me, I don't care about feeling connected, but I know some of the people who are new to working remotely. Yeah, it's good to make sure that we're all on the same page when we start the day.
Thank you.
And the boss did sing your praises today, because you truly have been the guy, like Johnny on the spot with all the coverage during the pandemic. You, like, when we really didn't understand how bad the pandemic was going to be or how easily the virus was spreading, you were down at the airport where the virus was coming into the country and showing the world that the borders weren't really closed, that there were these flights from China every single day, doing something the other journalists were scared to do. You've been killing it on the Fight the Fine stuff, telling the stories of normal people. Wow. You've been down there at those Queen's Park protests. Again, telling the stories of normal people who just want to go back to work. And they see this whole thing as being overblown. And then you've been covering these Antifa, I mean, I guess they're BLM protests, but they're mostly Antifa, white grievance monger types at these things. And again, at great peril to yourself, and people will see that in a minute here. So, David, I want to get some of what the boss is handing out here and sing your praises too, that's for sure.
You know what? I got to tell you, I can take a punch in the face from an Antifa thug. I'll shrug it off. But if you keep complimenting me like this, and Ezra too, I'm going to start to tear up, okay, Sheila? So enough.
No, keep it together. You know, I'll start taking things back if you start crying. That does nothing for me. Okay, let's get going. We've got one from Crystal Lamont, gives us $20 Canadian, says, "You are amazing." Kappa Deseo, that's a Norwegian crone. He gives us 22 of those. Who do people keep cats in bags? Isn't that cruel? Referring, I guess, to David saying that the cat's out of the bag. We've got a few super chats that came also on the premiere of the video that we're talking about here, because we did premiere that video live earlier this morning. Matt B300 gave $10 Canadian in support of David's video. "I'm so sorry, David, and Rebel News, on behalf of the mostly decent people of the city of Kingston. Sir Johnny MacDonald is an important part of this city in Canada, and these morons just don't seem to get it." Yeah, I don't think, I don't want to speak for David, but I don't think what happened there speaks anything about the people of Kingston any more than what happened in Innisfail speaks to the people of Innisfail. I'm sure a lot of these people are trucked in shrews and scolds. Kane Enmark gives us $5 Canadian. "I'm getting sick and tired of hearing about David Kian and Sheila being hit. Ezra needs to have some off-duty cops to help. We do hire professional security, but a lot of times we're just outnumbered.
Yeah.
MVP gives us $5. Says respect to David for not taking a backward step. Grant Roger gives us $5 Canadian, says good job. Ken Tate gives us, holy moly, Ken. Thank you so much for your generosity. $100.
Wow, thank you.
Ken says, I just saw the absolute human filth on display down in Kingston. I wish I would have been a cop down there with you, David, with billy clubs ablazing. Are you kidding me? But, that's something David and I talked off screen about. We'll get into that, is the lack of police presence down there. Yep. Hillary Waugh gives us $5. Why do you think the rioters are focused on tearing down statues? I think it has to do with erasing history.
Yeah.
It's just, they are anarchists. And if you erase history and you're supposed to learn from history and not repeat the mistakes of history, then just memory hold the history. This judging these historical figures by the lens of modern wokeness, none of us will pass this test. None of us ever will, and I think that's the point.
Sheila, on that point, Ezra a couple of weeks ago said on when he was doing the live stream, he was talking about the classic Orwell novel, 1984, yep, and how he should reread it. And I listened to that, and a few days later, I went to a bookstore, bought it. I'm halfway through it. I read it in high school. I can't remember... Yep. I can't believe how much I forgot about 1984. And reading it now, in light of current events, it's way more of a terrifying book. And remember, folks, this was written in 1948. I mean, that's how the title came. Orwell just reversed the digits. It was published in 1949. And there's that uncanny scene where, the protagonist, Winston Smith, works for the Ministry of Truth, and he is constantly in the historical revision business where he's involved in changing newspaper accounts of who Oceania was at war with and who they were allied with, because there's three main blocks: East Asia, Eurasia, and Oceania. And sometimes they're at war with Eurasia, sometimes it's East Asia. So depending on who the ally is, he has to go back, and it's a team of thousands of people, reverse all the written accounts, the audio accounts, the video accounts of them being an enemy of their current ally. And it gets to a point where he can't remember which block of countries they were originally an ally with and who the original enemy is. History has been rewritten and rewritten and rewritten so many times, he doesn't even know the truth. And we're seeing that right now, Sheila, with cancel culture, taking away the careers of people that say something offensive, tearing down statues. Like I said, folks, most of you have probably read 1984. Reread it in today's context. It's more scary than ever.
Well, and it doesn't even have to be all that offensive. It just has to be true, however disagreeable.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be offensive. And I think maybe if we have time, we'll talk about the story of Leighton Gray. He didn't actually say anything that was all that offensive. He actually said, I want to hire the best person for the job. And he used the words Black Lives Matter is a Marxist lie. And that is to the NDP and the professional grievance mongers here in Alberta, and some two out of province ones from Toronto who somehow think any of this is their business. He's basically being denied an appointment by the Alberta government. Yep. And the Black Lives Matter is a Marxist lie is the title of a video by the Hodge twins, who are black. Like he linked to a video of two black people saying it. Yeah. And that made him racist. Yep. By the privileged white broads down at the legislature, by the way.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Okay, we've got one from Proud Boys Calgary. Hi, Justin. $5 Canadian. Menzoid, did the Antifa punch feel like a fish slapping dance from Monty Python? CCP must be destroyed.
Well, when we play the video, if there's a scene of them when they're throwing the eggs at Sir John A. Macdonald, most of the eggs miss the target, and they're like at point blank. I mean, am I allowed to say they throw like a girl? At least the guys are, because Mr. Producer said it's very sexist. I think I'm being canceled right now, folks. But it was pathetic. So when they throw like that, you can imagine when they throw a punch, it's pretty limp-wristed as well. Anyways, I digress.
They're going to have to take the week off work they don't have to vegetate, to feel better, to get there. They probably have sore muscles because they actually used one. The mom is putting extra ketchup on their craft dinner now, just to get their calories and strength back up. Kane Enmark again gives us $5 Canadian, says the same thing as earlier. I'm getting sick and tired of hearing about David, Kian, and Sheila. Yet Ezra needs to have some off-duty cops to help. A lot of the security that we do have are former police officers, by the way. Jim Rat gives us $2 Canadian. Please get extra health care coverage for Menzies. Yeah, David gets expensive, though, because of his age. Okay. Patricia Nash. Patricia, I'm sorry. I forgot how to say your name again. $5 Canadian. BLM. Patricia, she's going to get so sick of me. BLM equals bodyguard lives matter more than ever. Stay safe, David and crew. Marcus Starr gives us $5.49. David, do you plan on bringing back your hat? David, you should actually probably wear a helmet, like a riot helmet when you go down there. It would look cute with your suit, by the way. Leanne gives us $20 Canadian. Proud of you guys for standing up for democracy and free speech. Jonathan Stenoulis, the Greek name, I think. $69.99 Canadian.
Thank you.
David and the Rebel team are brave and honest. Thank you so much. The solution to Agenda 2030 is to sign the Citizens Convention of Consent form to appoint the Canadian people as final decision makers at CanadianPowerShift.com. Canadian People's Union. I don't know anything about that, but $69.99 Canadian. I'll definitely Google it as soon as we're done here. Oh, we've still got another, and one more super chat came in. Is Sanico, I think is how I say that. $5 Canadian. These people are not anarchists. They are Marxists and communists. Yes, they are, but I think they have to create anarchy for their Marxism to rise from it. They have to break down all the power structures and social mores. Like, they really are into just destroying everything that is good and functional in society, and so that they can just rebuild it in their own horrible way. And oh my goodness, we've got one from Matt B300.
Wow.
Gives us $100 Canadian.
Wow. Thank you.
If the statue is what they are after, I fear what may to come to Bellevue House. His grave at Cataraqui Cemetery. I hope I said that okay. And to a main arterial road in the city named after him. The city says it does not have plans to remove the statue. Go to thewig.com for the article. I definitely will. Therese Pollard gives us $5 Canadian. Tolstoy said it best. Would be great if only it were true. Proud Boys Calgary gives us $2 Canadian, says Sheila's kids could bust those riots with ease. Yeah, and we wouldn't have to worry about anybody throwing like a girl. Because I've got some little girls who can really throw a ball. One's a pretty avid rugby player. Okay, I think we're finally all caught up on Super Chats. So I guess let's get to what we've been alluding to. David, your story of what happened over the weekend.
Well, first of all, thank you so much to everyone that gave those super chats. You're very generous, folks. And let me just set up this video in case you haven't seen the video and you have no idea what we're talking about. I just want to preface it with, I think, a very important point. My cameraman Mocha and I went to a rally. It was attended by, I'd say, more than 200 people. It was all about ending colonialism, and they were advocating tearing down the statue of Sir John A. Macdonald. That was not going to happen because nobody there had an engineering degree. These are all gender studies majors at Queen's University, I assume. Now, I want to point out that they were making speeches, and it was the usual racism, white supremacy, genocide, yada, yada, yada. So we didn't interrupt anyone. We were respectful. In fact, we walked 60 meters or so away from the gathering so I could do my stand-up, which is my introduction in front of the statue of Sir John A. Macdonald. We weren't bothering anyone. I was in a public park, Kingston City Park, and I was just saying, here we are, there's a protest afoot, and like ants to an open jam jar, they came to us. And that's when the encounter happened. And without further ado, Mr. Producer, please. David Menzies for Rebel News here in Kingston, Ontario. And folks, before I get to the story du jour, if you want to support Rebel News, please consider making a donation at letusreport.com. That's letusreport.com. Now, I'm in Kingston because, as you can see behind me, there is a anti-colonialism protest. It's kind of funny. The motto of Kingston, Ontario is where history and innovation thrive, but it seems that the people here are keen on canceling history. Such is our cancel culture. As a matter of fact, you can see a big red poster. It says, "Make history, topple colonialism," and it's showing a statue being toppled. Now, I would say that's a major job here if that's what the plan is today, to actually tear down this statue. But I have noticed that throughout the crowd they are distributing eggs. And, oh, excuse me, ma'am? Oh, why is that? What makes me a racist, ma'am?
Okay, we know. You heard your own words, because I just listened to you. Please. Don't touch me. Do not touch me.
You do not touch the camera.
Ma'am, you said we were racist? Why is that? And you use a lot of bad language, not very ladylike language, I must say.
I'm not a fucking lady. Get out of here.
Oh, okay then. What about yourself, ma'am? You were saying something as well, I believe.
I said that I thought your speech was offensive and inaccurate.
Oh, it was. What did I get wrong? Kingston's motto is not where history and innovation thrive.
Do you believe that removing a statue removes history?
Don't touch the camera.
What would you call it?
I would say that we're no longer celebrating a racist creep.
Time to go.
The history doesn't...
Time to go.
What are you pouring water? Hey, excuse me.
Time to go. Time to go. Time to go. Time to go. Shoo.
As you can see, these people, it's a park, it's a public park.
Do not push us. Time to go.
Do not push us. We're making our way out.
Okay, good. Good, get your boy out. Get your boy out. You're gonna get egged. Get out.
Well, you're gonna threaten me by throwing an egg at me, sir?
Don't. Get out of here.
It's a public park. Come on.
Whoa. Let's move over.
Oh, you're a tough guy behind that mask, aren't you?
Get out.
Oh, and you too.
Get out.
Huh? Is this is your idea?
Let's go.
Get your boy. You're gonna lose that camera, kid. You're gonna lose it. Go. Go.
This is. Hey.
Touch me. Get the
Don't
fuck
touch
out.
him.
What are you gonna do?
What am I gonna do?
Yeah. Do
Let's go.
something.
Let's move over.
What makes us a racist? What makes us a racist? You can't even articulate yourself. Well, as you can see, folks, yeah, how you doing, guys? Thank you, appreciate that, sir. Well, I'm not sure how much of that was caught on camera. My cameraman and I were assaulted. We were doused with water, as you can see. We were called racist, and again, when I asked them to provide evidence of that, they are unable to. And it's kind of odd that they seem to take ownership of a public park, but we're certainly not going to go away. Makes me wonder, though, where the Kingston police is, or are these kind of protests the new normal, folks? Is this, you know, the police have a slogan called FIDO. It stands for F it, drive on. And what it means is that it's not worth the repercussions of, oh, and look at this. Look at these tough guys. They're all throwing eggs at Sir John A. Macdonald. Hey man, what does that mean, shut down Canada? How would you like to see it shut down? And how would that improve the lives of natives? How about yourself, man? What does that mean, sir? Shut down Canada.
Don't talk to him.
No?
Don't worry about it.
I'm sorry. I thought if you're going to a protest, you would be able to articulate yourselves.
Yeah, we don't need to ask these questions, all right? You're just trying to fire us up. And that's
Why is that? Who's this person?
All right. Hey, it's all right. It's all right, man. I'll stay with you, all right? Just go ahead.
Would you like to continue our discussion, sir?
It's not a discussion. We're not listening to you. Hey,
give me my property back. Give me my property.
Just let it go. Let it go.
I'll put it in your pocket.
Just let him go. Listen, man. You guys, come on.
It's enough.
Yeah.
Okay. We're not doing anything here. No, he's not allowed to talk to us, all right?
Okay.
Wait a second. I'm not allowed to talk to you?
I'm asking you not to talk to us, okay? No one's going to talk to you. We're just
I thought we had free speech in Canada. This guy seems to believe we have a right to thievery in Canada. Pardon me?
You wouldn't mind backing up 6
Well,
feet?
you know what? It's your buddy here that's walking closer than the 2 meter distance. Why using 6 feet? Why would you use the imperial system, by the way, ma'am? Isn't that an expression of imperialism?
Can you please?
Oh, really?
Please leave us alone.
That's not very ladylike language.
Very much.
Please leave us alone. All right? Thank
I'm
you.
just asking questions. I'm doing my job, brother.
You know you're asking controversial questions.
Is that illegal to ask controversial questions? That's all you can say, ma'am? Just off?
Yeah.
You are not
Just
very answer.
Have you been educated, ma'am? Because you seem to have a very limited vocabulary.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious.
You serious? You're going to actually piss somebody off like that by going after her and tell
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I trigger her? Hey, sir, why are you having an umbrella out there? Doesn't look like much chance of rain.
Take that out of my face.
You're in my face. Are you guys able to say anything without using profanity?
Right guy you are.
Oh, the finger symbol for profanity. Well played, sir. Sir, what about you? Do you think I'm a racist? Or should I ask you after you finish your popsicle? You know, there's nothing that diminishes the pseudo appearance of a tough guy than someone marching in a protest, Sheila, while they're chomping down on a popsicle Pete frozen treat. You know, let me say this. There's two things I want to say. The first thing is the perverse irony. These people are ostensibly anti-colonialism. And what did we see? We saw them kick my cameraman Mocha and I out of a public park. They claimed ownership, if you will, of land that does not belong to them. The soy boy in the San Diego Padres cap at one point stole my notes. I only got them back when I latched onto his backpack and forced him to return my property to me. So they're stealing things. Then they're vandalizing things, not just the statue, but my microphone, the camera. So, Sheila, when you think about it, isn't this the very worst elements of colonialism? You know, going
David,
in and yes, go ahead.
I have so many notes. Like I'm all noted out from just watching that video, and then I was sending emails about it when we cut back, and I was on my phone sending emails. This is even like worse colonialism because I guarantee you 75% of those people are not locals to Kingston. They're trucked in from Toronto. So you have these Toronto Antifa do-gooders, which they're absolutely not doing any good anywhere for anybody, including their own cause. But they're trucked in to tell the good people of Kingston what they should do with their statue. That's absolutely colonialism. From watching that video, we've got uttering threats, assaults, intimidation. Where are the journalists' associations? Where are they? This should absolutely outrage them. Because if somebody said a mean word to a lady CBC journalist on camera, there would be a police investigation. But there's nobody's, at least as I was looking on my phone, I can't see where anybody has come to your defense. From these organizations. And I go out of my way to join these organizations, not because I support the work that they do, because then I can say in good faith, I paid you your $70 a year, Penn Canada, and you've done absolutely frig all for me. And so at least I can say that in good faith. But yeah, there's nobody coming to your defense. And by the way, I don't know if people know because Mocha's behind the camera but he's an immigrant, and he's like a visible immigrant.
Yep.
So you've got these like crazy trucked in white people from Toronto fighting racism by stopping an immigrant journalist from doing his job. This is insane.
Yeah, and Sheila, it should be pointed out, Mocha had the presence of mind to bring basically a 10-foot-high staff with them to mount the camera on. Otherwise, you were only going to see video of sweaty palms in a camera lens. And that is part of the, these are the tactics of the leftists today. It's not just to erase history, but prevent history from being recorded. By covering up the camera lens, you saw that kid with the black umbrella. I can tell you there was 0.0% chance of rain that day in Kingston. It was like 40 degrees in the shade Celsius. And he was only there to prevent the camera from recording violence because, you know, they'll all claim that this was peaceful, nobody got hurt. So there's that. Now, the second point, major point, and this is going to lead to a follow-up story, Sheila, and I'm already on it, and already the cover your ass part of my French procedure has started. An insider in Kingston, very reliable source, told me, when I asked the question, there's this gathering of several hundred people at a city park where the ostensible policy is to pull down a statue, and then that mob, they're unable to, so they can only egg it and throw rocks at it. Then that mob, without a permit, marches to City Hall, where they incinerate an effigy of Sir John A. Macdonald. Where are the cops? You would think that there would, at the very least, be one cruiser observing, and if things got out of hand, call for backups. And this person, who I completely believe, and I'm not going to out who this person is, said to me that the ringleaders of this mob either went to the police or the city of Kingston or both, and they said, for this event, we want no visible police presence, because of the events that have happened in the U.S. with the George Floyd murder in Minneapolis. That alone is triggering and offensive to us, just to see a cop on the beat or a police cruiser. And either the city and or the Kingston Police Service said, okay. And I think the proof is in the pudding, Sheila. There were no police. I mean, Kingston's a small city. You have a gathering of that with people who have, you know, made their announcements on social media that they have violence on their minds. They have vandalism on their minds. Yeah. And there's not a single police cruiser. In fact, we caught on camera, this will be part of the follow-up, when the mob assembled outside the City Hall and started setting things on fire. I finally saw a couple of police SUVs coming, and I went, oh, finally, the cavalry is arriving. And before they even got to City Hall, they made a quick left, out of sight once again. Like a mob of like almost 300 people, a fire in front of City Hall, and you run away from that? And I'm not blaming the members of the police, like the Kingston Police Service, Sheila. The two constables I met and the supervisor were very nice and, you know, and I think frustrated. But they're getting, their puppet masters are telling them, stand down, stand down, stand down. And this is what emboldened these thugs. I can tell you, I've gone to Antifa protests in Toronto before, just one a few weeks ago, and there is always a police presence. And I hope I never live to see the day where some thug, some criminal goes to the police department here in this city and says, we don't want to see any cops there. That's triggering for us. And the chief of police says, all right, whatever you say, boss. You know, that is a disgrace. And I'm going to try to get to the bottom of who in the city of Kingston, whether it was the mayor, the police chief, a councillor, whoever, told the police, do not even make yourself visible. And when you do that, the animals take over.
David, after we get off air, I'm going to see about what we can file for access to information and freedom of information with the city, what they knew, what their plan was. Because I know, like when United We Rural went to Ottawa, there was like a month's worth of planning and scheming with the federal bureaucrats about how they were going to handle it. At the end of it all, they sort of treated them as though they were terrorists and gave Antifa sort of free rein on Parliament Hill. And I'm curious to see whether or not those same sort of discussions happened at the Kingston level. I find it astounding that they didn't even have cops down there taking intel.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about this. Just say, I'm planning to rob a bank. I'm going to post about it on Facebook and organize my bank robbery on Facebook. I mean, that's a crime. So is vandalism. I'm going to do that and just don't have the cops show up until I'm gone.
Yeah.
That sounds insane, but that's actually what happened here, just with a different crime. The crime in this instance was vandalism. And assault, I guess, but they didn't plot their open assault on Facebook when a lot of these things get organized on social media. So there's a trail there. There's evidence where they said what they were going to do. Bring eggs. What were they going to do? Make breakfast? Of course they were going to throw them at the statue. That also is vandalism.
Yeah.
So, I mean, where are the cops in all of this? And again, like you, I don't blame the beat cops. It's their bosses I generally have a problem with because their bosses are less like cops and more like politicians.
And Sheila, by the way, you are the best at these FOIs, so thank you for that offer, and I will gladly take you up on it. And secondly, if this is true, if we can find someone in the city, whether it's in policing or at the city council level or the mayor, whatever, who did acquiesce to these Antifa thugs, this is a worse story than the assault that took place. I mean, you would expect thugs to throw punches and throw bottles and eggs and what have you. It's like, you know, you'd expect a shark to bite you if you went into the water. But for the people that are charged with the safety of society and law enforcement and making sure law-abiding citizens and journalists just practicing journalism don't get hurt, if you acquiesce to this, this is the ultimate dereliction of duty I have ever come across in my entire life, and someone's got to answer for that, given what happened on Saturday.
It's one of those few things that I agree government should do. Government does a lot of things that they shouldn't do. It's none of their business. They shouldn't care about, but they do it anyways because they try to control every aspect of your life. But keeping people safe, that's actually the one thing that they're supposed to do. Like, and not like showing up at your house and hugging you and tucking you into bed. But if you know that there's criminals organizing in a public park to do criminal activities, then yeah, where are the cops? Where is the local government on this issue? That's actually their job instead of all the other things they tend to do.
And Sheila, before you get to the super chats, I must reach out, and I hate to, you know what? It's sad that this website even exists, to tell you the truth, folks. It's one of our websites. It's called the journalistdefensefund.com. Can you imagine? Oh, journalistdefensefund.com, right, producer? Okay. If you want to contribute to us bringing you the other side of the story, because as you saw, folks, there are elements out there that don't want the other side of the story to be told, and they will shut us down with violence if need be. We need this money for one basic reason. We have to pay the security. We had one security guard with us. I think if we did not have him, and that was about a $400 expenditure for his time spent there, Mocha and I would surely have been mobbed and beaten up. It would be 2 people versus 250 people. No chance. And secondly, you know, he's the one on camera. He might look like he's a member of the mob. He's the one dragging me away. He was dragging me away for my own good, because it would have been a fool's errand without him and to keep filming, because not only would they beat us up, they would have stolen our equipment 110%. What we learned from that is we need more than one person. We need at least 2 if there's going to be 2 of us there, 3 if there's going to be 3 of us there. And it's not cheap. These are not, you know, bouncers at the local bar. These are trained security professionals. They're insured, you know, the whole yard, the whole 9 yards. And so again, I know during these dark days of the Wuhan virus, people are struggling, but if you are able to contribute to journalistdefensefund.com, it would be greatly appreciated. And it's just to ensure, the health and safety of our team here. And I mean, I don't care if I get a slug in the face, folks, but look at lovely Sheila Gunn Reid. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the kind of charlatan that would lay a single finger on that beautiful face?
Yeah, his name is Dion Buse, and he looks exactly like the guy who would hit me.
Right.
Like, exactly. If I had to draw a picture of the kind of guy that I thought would assault me at a women's march, it was Dion Buse. I would have described him to a police.
Yeah, and you can go to DionBuse.com to see that full story. Yeah, Dion Buse, you will live on forever. When you are dead and buried in the ground, your website will live on about that odious, ghastly act that you did on Sheila Gunn Reid a few years ago. Your day of infamy, it's never going to go away. So good on you, Dion. Anyway,
just
Sheila.
Sure, and just talking about the kind of guys that we hire as part of our security detail. I don't know if maybe Mr. Producer can round it up, but when I went to BC to cover Jonathan Yaniv, and these guys, our security team, are so good because it saved me from having to do one of two things: get strangled by Jonathan Yaniv's mom and then become part of the story, or drop my equipment and throw a haymaker at an old lady, Jonathan Yaniv's mom. And then again, I'm part of the story, and then I've got to go through the process of saying, no, it was self-defense, it was an assault, blah, 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 because Jonathan Yaniv's mom did lunge at me when I was trying to do some journalism on the steps of the courthouse, by the way. Like, there's sheriffs there, there's security cameras there. I'm wearing a GoPro plus recording, and old Mama Yaniv comes up and she's gonna choke me. Well, and look at the security team just moves right in, cuts her off, and then I can continue to do my job. And that's what's so important about these guys, is that they get us out of trouble, they stand out of the way and let us do our jobs. And that's why it's really important for us to have a professional executive security detail, and as opposed to, I've got big guy friends. I'm from Alberta. There's a lot of alpha males who'd be willing to come with me to help me when I'm at a protest. But it's important that we have professionals who know how to do the job and then stand out of the way, and who can recognize the threat before I even know that it's coming.
Well, Sheila, when you talk about Yaniv, you are preaching to the choir here. I took 5 steel cane shots off my head and shoulder from Yaniv, and Mama Yaniv tried to tear out my Adam's apple with her iPad that she was shoving into my neck. So I know completely what you're talking about when it comes to that unemployed circus freak. Anyway, Sheila, you go ahead to the super chat.
Oh, man. You know what? That's the thing. If these people just had jobs to occupy their time, the world would be a much better place. John T. Singus gives us $2 Canadian, says, Sheila, where the heck is your Jim Duggan shirt? Yeah, where the heck is my Jim Duggan shirt? Amazon. Don't even get me started. Like, when I saw this chat and I messaged Mr. Producer and I said, don't even get me started on that Jim Duggan shirt. When I get that Jim Duggan shirt, I'm going to wear it for the entire week. I promise.
Do you think, now that his wrestling career is over, Sheila, do you think Hacksaw Jim Duggan is a security professional? Because that would be so beautiful. He was tough as nails, and he always had that trusty 2x4, right?
Oh, God, more things to Google when we get off air. I want to know what he's doing with his life and how much he works for. We've got one from C182OPR, $5 Canadian. My quote, baseball team would be happy to accompany David on his next outing. We'll bring the bats, you supply the balls. Okay.
That's one of the most beautiful super chats I've ever heard. Thank you so much.
It is great. We've got a super chat from Jack Krauser, $13.99 Canadian. Do you think the soldier that was planning to overthrow Trudeau knew about the evil globalist plan? I'm not sure. Matt B. $300 or Matt B 300 gives us $2 Canadian. Trust me, you can't depend on the KPD. I guess that's the Kingston Police Department. Kappa de Seo gives us 55 Norwegian krone. Next time, bring 10 bodyguards heavily armed with large water guns filled with chili pepper dissolved in vinegar. You know what? Even just water and soap would probably do it for these people. I personally would probably do holy water. I feel like there's some other things that work with these people. But even just soap and water would be enough to make these weirdos flinch.
And it would be warm water, Sheila, and we would aim it at their popsicles. Melting their popsicles would trigger them into a fit of anxiety, I'm sure.
We've got $2 Canadian from White Privilege. I got guys in Southern Ontario if you want for free. That's the thing. We do get a lot of people volunteering to come help us for free. But you know what's going to happen? Yeah. You intervene and you get in a scuffle with Antifa. Guess who the cops are taking away? Now you've got Good Samaritans charged with assault. Correct. And they've got to be put through the legal ringer. Yep. And we just don't want that. It's just terrible. A criminal charge can ruin your life and ruin your future and really hamper your ability to travel. We don't want that. We want our Good Samaritans to continue to be Good Samaritans out in the world.
Yep.
These super chats are getting away on me. Sanico gives us $5 Canadian. Everything they do is point-for-point rules for radicals. Yes, Saul Linsky. Any and all politicians should be held accountable for their inaction or don't tax us. Oh, they're going to tax you. And no one is going to hold them accountable for their inaction except us and you at home. Because the mainstream media knows who pays their bills, and it's Justin Trudeau. So yep. That's how it works. Proud Boys Calgary, $2 Canadian. Breaking Rebel catches Antifa doing Nazi salutes. I didn't notice that. We'll have to go back through that. That would make a great social cut. Gabrielle Desbiens, I guess. $5, no super chat. Thank you very much. Tim Evans, 64, $20 Canadian. The concept of the book, 1984, was incredible from the point of view that the author perfectly described the leftist mentality. The book itself was a tough read. Yeah, I guess George Orwell had a really oracle-like understanding of human nature. And when I think about the drafters of the American Constitution, how they restrained government, the Constitution restrains government. It allots only the smallest amounts of power to the federal government. And the drafters of the Constitution, I think, had some of that oracle-like foresight that Orwell had. It's, if you understand human nature, you understand that they're power hungry and that they will continue to try to gain power and do what they can to hang on to power. And I think both Orwell and the founder or the authors of the Constitution both had that sort of understanding.
Oh, the founding fathers, the two most important documents perhaps in humankind. Did I say that? Mankind? It's certainly the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights. You're absolutely right, Sheila. The founders saw what tyranny does and anticipated it and wrote these documents. And the sad thing is, I think last year I came across a poll that was done in U.S. universities of the people there, where it was 51%. So the majority said that, for example, the First Amendment should be removed or modified if speech is offensive to any one person or any one group. That's happened in the United States of America because of Marxist leftist professors getting a hold of classes and preaching this garbage and indoctrinating them. And as I say in the marketing business, Sheila, get them young, get them forever, right? And that's what we're seeing. Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because you say, two of the most important documents are the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, but I would throw in there the Bible. And the reason I say that is not religious. For me, it's religious, but it's also because the very first government laid out is the family. And I think that's why these Marxist professors, they're so intent on breaking down the nuclear family, calling it, using all these words to describe the nuclear family that have negative connotations, like they're patriarchal, they're oppressive, because if you bust apart that very first form of government, you can create these minds that think that you should be protected from controversial speech when the First Amendment exists because of controversial speech, specifically for controversial speech. Anyway, let's continue. Amanda S., $10 Canadian. Since there have been calls to defund a sweet, fictitious, animated Paw Patrol character, don't you guys think it's time for JT to be defunded for blackface? Look, we've been saying, I've been saying there's a problem with systemic racism in the Liberal Party. And I guess when they say systemic racism, there's a problem in Canada. Yeah, because Eastern voters voted in a guy who did blackface. But what do you want me to do? The West didn't vote for the guy. So, yeah, I mean, you see all these people, their lives are being absolutely leveled for controversial things they've done in their past. None of them are liberal.
Yep.
None of them. It's very strange. And it just goes to the double standard. Jimmy Kimmel did blackface. He's going to be fine. He's going to be just fine. But if Dennis Miller did blackface, holy smokes, we'd never hear from him again.
Wow.
He'd be launched into the surface of the sun.
So true.
We've got a super chat from Imperium Commenting Network, $2 Canadian. Wexit is Alberta's best chance at this time. Anything to get us away from Toronto, I think I'd be fine.
By the way, does Manitoba qualify for Wexit? Because I saw in the chatter on one of our comments pages, somebody identifying that they live in Winnipeg was saying, yeah, Wexit. And then somebody immediately commented, I'm so sorry, you're too far east to be part of Wexit. So, and I know, it's a funny thing about, Manitoba, because whenever the CFL is, whether it's 8 or 9 teams to make the divisions equal, it's always Winnipeg that has to go play in the East when there's only 3 Eastern teams. So are they either West or East, or is it kind of like the Romulan neutral zone, Sheila? It's neither one or the other. What is your opinion as a Westerner on that?
Yeah, we're going to need a demilitarized zone between, I don't know, Lake Winnipeg and Dryden, Ontario anyway. We got to keep you people on your side, and we're going to be fine over here. I don't know. Manitoba's got to decide who they are. Even their Conservative Party, you look at it and you're like, are you sure you're conservative? Because the name says you're conservative, but you're like planning a carbon tax and doing all kinds of like fairly Justin Trudeau-y sounding things. Like, people, you're not the NDP, but are you conservative? I don't know. So once they get their identities, their political identity sorted out, we'd be glad to take submissions from Manitoba. We've got a super chat from Paolo Duarte. I don't know. £5. We need to get the Proud Boys back in the street. No one is pushing back Antifa and defending the seekers of truth that go there to report the facts. Again, though, you send these Proud Boys out there to fight Antifa. Antifa can bottle them, throw urine on them, hit them with concrete milkshakes. Proud Boys throw one punch, they're going to jail for 5 years. That's just how
100%. And but Sheila, I'm not even advocating going that far. I'm just saying you have a few police cruisers and a few constables observing, and none of those wimps and soy boys would have been emboldened like they were. Once they saw the gatekeepers were nowhere to be seen, that's when they all became tough guys and started throwing things, including punches. And, like I said, if that's true that law enforcement in Kingston were ordered to stand down at the request of these thugs, then that is the worst dereliction of duty I've ever seen.
Yeah, then they enabled the attack on you to happen. We've got a super chat from Rusty Peterson, gives us, holy moly, $139.99.
Thank you.
Amazing and real reporting, Canadian heroes. David. Peter, thank you very much, Rusty. We appreciate that so much. Peter Birdsall gives us $5 Canadian. David equals real deal watchman. Joseph Slobodnik gives us $2.79. I don't see a super chat. Varying Redbeard gives us £5 just because I've never laughed so hard. Oh, thank you. Are you laughing with us or at us? I'm not sure.
I'm laughing on the outside, Sheila, but I'm crying on the inside. Let me tell you that.
And I think that brings us to the end of the super chat. So I guess are we still talking about what happened to you, or are we moving on to the next topic?
Well, you know what? We can go to perhaps the next. I mean, we have so many here. I'm sure we're not going to get to all of them. So
no, we have 5 minutes left in the show.
Oh my goodness. Should we talk about? I see the next one listed. It's my visit to Steeles Avenue. Now, I mentioned the Romulan neutral zone just a few minutes ago. In Ontario, Premier Doug Ford announced more loosening of the rules, folks, in terms of the province going to, more of the province going to stage 2. There are some provinces, of course, that are already well into stage 3. But that didn't include the City of Toronto, still in stage 1. But there's a funny thing about the City of Toronto. It's their northern boundary is the southern boundary of a region going into stage 2. It's insanity. Just check out our visit to Steeles Avenue. Talk about TGIF. Ontario is going into stage 2 of its great economic reopening. That means malls are reopening, as well as barbershops and nail salons and restaurants. But wait a minute, folks. Check the fine print, because if you happen to live in certain areas of Ontario, such as the City of Toronto, well, to paraphrase the soup Nazi from Seinfeld, no stage 2 for you. Yes, the City of Toronto, as well as Peel Region and Windsor, Essex County, remain locked down in stage 1. But why is that? Why can I not go for a haircut and get my nails done and have a restaurant meal in the City of Toronto, but I can do so in York Region? Oh, and by the way, for those of you not familiar with Southern Ontario, I'm going to show you just what the geographic situation is between those two jurisdictions, City of Toronto and York Region. I've had a hearty lunch and I've done some stretching, and I'm about to hike all the way from City of Toronto to the City of Vaughan in York Region. Whew, I know it's kind of like climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, but wish me luck. Here I go, folks. Wow, what an odyssey. That was what, 40? Oh, not 40 miles, not 40 kilometers, 40 paces. Yeah, that's right, folks. York Region begins on the north side of Steeles, where the City of Toronto ends, which is the south side of Steeles. That's right, 40 paces across Steeles Avenue brings you from the City of Toronto to York Region. And just by crossing Steeles, you can go to, well, there's Shark Sports Pub. They're open for business. I see people on the patio having a beer. But if you're on the south side of Steeles, too bad, sucker. But like I said, if it's all about the health and all about the science, maybe they're right. Maybe the Wuhan virus will not cross Steeles Avenue into York Region, therefore affecting the good people of such cities as Vaughan and Markham. And I thought, why not put that to the test? I've got a little bubble kit, and I'm going to blow some bubbles. Now, in theory, these bubbles will not cross Steeles to go to the north part of the street. They'll stay here on the south. Let's see what happens. Uh-oh. Hey, get back on the south side. Oh, no. Oh, no. Well, I guess so much for that theory, eh, folks? But maybe the Wuhan virus is more respectful of the laws of the province of Ontario. And hey, like Doug Ford says, day after day at those pressers, we're all in this together. And if you believe that, I have a piece of infrastructure in the borough of Brooklyn, New York for sale at a really cheap price. Sheila, are we at peak insanity with the Wuhan virus right now, or what do you think?
Yeah. The same people telling me that the virus can't cross the street are the same ones telling me that it couldn't come in on an airplane. Like it's just like, there's you can go across the street and get a beer on a patio, but on your side of the street, your business has to be shuttered. Like if I were a business owner, I would be beside myself that there's like a line on a map that is somehow, again, like you say, the demilitarized zone, this one street. If I were a business owner on the wrong side of the street, watching my business go under and watching my regular customers drive across the street for a beer, I would be losing my mind. The Premier's office phone would be ringing off the hook from me.
But Sheila, here's the good news. At Rebel News, we cover the news, and sometimes we make the news, because that video premiered yesterday. Doug Ford saw it, and guess what? As of Wednesday midnight, tomorrow, Toronto goes into stage 2. So you can be on the south side of Steeles and have a beer. See our influence? Isn't that amazing? Mr. Producer is saying we have some more super chats.
We have more super chats, and it's 11, but David Menzies gets results, doesn't he? Okay. We've got a super chat from Peter Bass, or Bass. Gives us $2. I admire David's restraint. Hillary for prison. Yeah. That's a T-shirt that did come in the mail that I do wear. Unlike my Hacksaw Jim Duggan T-shirt that isn't here yet. Anyways, Connie Buffone gives us $10 Canadian and says, I'm coming with you guys from Winnipeg. Okay, you know what? We'll take refugees from Winnipeg. That's fine. I understand. I'm fine with that. And I think we're finally all caught up on everybody's very generous super chats. I can tell you how much we appreciate everybody's generosity. We truly do have the best supporters and viewers. Sometimes I feel bad for people in the mainstream media because they actually don't have viewers who are invested and really give a darn about them, I guess. Like, I can't imagine people being so moved by something that happened to Rosie Barton to donate the way our people do. And it warms my heart and it fills up my batteries to go out and fight for these people.
Sheila, I think Ezra Levant, our Commander-in-Chief, has said this in the past. Part of the resentment towards us by members of the mainstream media is jealousy. They are jealous of our freedom. They know even if they wanted to say something that's slightly politically correct, they're probably part of cancel culture themselves. Look at Ben Mulrooney, for goodness sakes. He had to walk the plank for something his wife said, for goodness sakes. And so that's the level of corporate control that they are under, and they despise our freedom. And that's all we're fighting for, isn't it? At the end of the day, freedom. Freedom to practice journalism, freedom to bring our viewers the other side of the story. So, and by the way, folks, we're going to keep fighting for you. We're never going to stand down. I mean, there is a mob in academia, there's a mob in the media, there is mob classic now on the streets, getting away with what you saw earlier. We're not backing down. Never, never surrender. And by the way, Mr. Producer tells me, please go to rebelnews.com/livestream if you want to make sure that you don't miss the next live stream, which it's easy to remember, 12 noon. By the way, it says 12 p.m. That's a typo. There is no such thing as 12 p.m. and 12 a.m. I told Mr. Producer this. I once successfully fought a parking ticket because of that. It's 12 noon. It's 12 noon Eastern Standard Time or 10 a.m. Mountain Time, I guess. That's your time, right, Sheila?
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
And then I guess it would be 9 a.m. in where Jonathan Yaniv lives. Why did I give him a plug? Anyway.
I don't know, but we still have super chats because despite you plugging Jonathan Yaniv, people are still donating to us. So,
just thinking of violence, that's why. Anyways, go ahead, Sheila.
We've got a super chat from James LeGros, gives us $25 Canadian. Thank you so much for the eye-opening journalism. I really did not like seeing Dave assaulted like that in Kingston. Me neither. I'd be in jail right now, probably. Wish we could donate more, but alas, we dwell within Trudeau's Canada. Well, Thank you so much. We appreciate every little bit helps. Imperium Commenting Network gives us $7 Canadian. Let's take Northern Manitoba. It has ocean access. Okay. And is mostly conservative. I think the people are mostly conservative, but for some reason they continue to vote NDP. And for some of the craziest NDPers that you'll ever find, like Nikki Ashton. But I don't know. Maybe they just need more convincing. It's a habit that they vote NDP up there. And I think that's the end of it.
Things are different in Manitoba. Anyways, Sheila, I always say this, fastest hour ever, and I think we broke the record today. I can't believe it's an hour. And, you know, Mr. Producer's doing this with his finger, which either means I'm insane or we got to wrap this up. So, folks, he said it, insane. So, folks, on the behalf of the lovely Sheila Gunn-Reid and myself, David Menzies, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for those super chats. We really, really appreciate that. And until Thursday, please stay safe.